too.
Hello and welcome everyone. We're going to hold on a quick minute while everybody gets into the webinar here. Wait for our participant count to slow down. Still rolling.
I see that.
All right. Well, maybe we're slowing down here a minute. All right. Well, hello and welcome again. Thank you for joining us today for this Catching Up with Releases for CommunitySuite webinar. Today, your presenter is Sky Weber, who's the CommunitySuite product owner, and myself, Holly Spitz, who is the accounting product manager for Foundant Technologies. Before we begin, we want to remind you that we're going to be using Zoom, as always, as our technology platform to run this event. If you have questions during today's webinar, please open the box that says Q&A instead of chat and type in your questions there. I'm going to be monitoring the Q&A today during Sky's presentation, and we'll ask her questions or answer them within that Q&A chat. All right, do you want to go to the next slide, Sky? Today, this is our agenda. Don't worry about copying this. We're going to go through all this functionality in C-Suite. And then also, just so you know, this demo will be out in that 9-dot icon sometime tomorrow, by tomorrow, so you can review it again if needed. All right, Sky, take it away.
Okay, let me go ahead and get rid of my PowerPoint here. I'm just going to do a quick double check on our participants. Yep, so it kind of has slowed down. So we're going to get started. I'm going to go ahead and start with the Fund Advisor portal, and I'm going to start by kind of just talking through some of the new settings, some of the new content area, and then displaying that and how that functionality is going to work. So I'm going to start here in this nonprofit column here, and I'm going to go into Fund Advisors. And then I'm going to go down here to the settings, and we're going to just look at some of these new settings that are going to enable some of this new functionality, and then we'll look at that functionality. So some of the new functionality that we did is we allowed our fund advisors to come in and update that profile information. So it is going to update their profile information within your C-Suite profile. So just wanted to call that out. So you have this new profile tab, and I just labeled mine profile information. You can label that whatever you would like. I also have turned on the allow profile edit. So this is going to enable our fund advisors to come in and make those changes on their address, their phone number, change their password, things like that. I also have enabled the email notify on a profile edit. So this is going to allow me to enable somebody at my foundation to get an email that says, hey, you know, this particular fund advisor just updated their profile information. So then you can have the correct person go in and double check and, you know, maybe reach out to that fund advisor if maybe the address looks incomplete or something. So that's going to be this email notify, and I'll show you back on the left-hand menu where you'll choose which email person you want to receive that. Also, some of the other functionality is enabling that two-factor authentication. So I don't have mine enabled right now, but you can turn that on. And then also in this last release in September, we had that show steward information. So I do have that turned on. And then I also have that label, and I just labeled it something very quickly with the, you know, here's your steward information. So those are kind of your settings here in the Fund Advisor for the profile and the fund steward. I'm going to use this back arrow on my left-hand menu. Once I come back to that, this is where I can see that edit profile notify. So anytime I'm getting a profile that's updating their information, this is who's going to receive the email at the foundation. So that is where you'll set up that fund advisor email profile notify. There's also a new content area that I'd like to point out. So as that profile is being updated, you could put in any new content. So please update your profile information. This will also update your profile within the community. So just kind of a little bit of information. So as my fund advisor is updating their address, they can know that it is going to update in their C-Suite profile as well. So I'm going to go ahead. I've already logged in here as Mr. Daniel Walker. So here is my Fund Advisor portal. So that profile information, remember that was that label that I showed you. So if I click on this icon, so once it's enabled, you'll receive this icon in this top right-hand corner. Now I can see that I can change my information and edit this information. So if I change it, so maybe I don't want my login to be Dan anymore, I could change it to something else or change my phone number, and then that's going to update at the profile level. They can also add a note here, and that's going to update at that profile. I'm going to go back to the home screen. You can see here that when I'm within my fund, it's going to have this steward information for me. And we'll talk about how we're going to set up that steward so it displays here where we're adding this image here in just a moment. But this is where I've put that label out there. So your foundation contact, I've added an image here. And then this is my foundation. This is who I want this particular fund. If I have a different fund, they may have a different steward, so I could change and add someone else here. So let's jump back into C-Suite for just a moment. And then let's go into a profile here. And let's go into that Sammy Davis here. We can look here because that was my fund advisor or my fund steward, excuse me. So right here is where I've added the image. So if I don't like this image, I can go in and I can delete my image and then upload a new image. But this is where you're going to do it. And again, this is on your user profile. So this is your foundation's employee, staff, board member, however you're having steward, they have their own profile. You'll add the image there. And then the second thing I'll need to do is then go to my fund. So this is where I can go onto that hikers fund. And you can see my fund steward is Sammy Davis. So out here on this list, we can see that Ranger J doesn't have a steward, but maybe I want to go ahead and add one. So I can come in to my Ranger J and I could also edit this and add Sammy here. And then save that. So again, it's pulling from Sammy's information. It's not attached to a image on the fund itself. So now if I update, refresh the screen, I should have my now Sammy's information is also on this Ranger J scholarship fund. So any questions on kind of that right there, Holly? That was kind of a lot of information, the profile update and if not, I'm
There
going
was
to keep.
so there was a lot of questions on that profile update.
Mhm.
Where can they see changes?
Yeah, sure.
So
if, yeah.
So if you can make
Go
a
ahead.
change and show them the logs.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and do this one. I'm going to change this number to a different phone number, and I'm just going to change the number and go ahead and hit save. And then I'm going to go into C-Suite here, and I'm going to pull up Daniel here. And then you can see his phone number is changed here on this right here. So now it's 580-888-999, and it will also show us in the log that there was a change here. So you can see down here at the very bottom, the fund advisor name changed here.
So it is in the log. You can actually find the logs in custom reports and do a custom report on anything that would say like fund advisor with a colon. That could be an option to go in and see anyone who didn't add a note. So that's kind of, they're just wondering, and is the old information retained? No, it's not.
No.
So not right now. There has been a lot of people have had some Idea Lab submissions. So just so you know, like making the note required, some other functionality around that. So, and then another question on what you just showed on stewards, can you bulk add stewards?
Yes, in funds, you sure can. You can go into your funds and then you can use that bulk update or bulk edit. So I can go in and set my fund stewards here. Let me see where right here. And so that I can come in and say everybody is Sammy Davis here. Or I could do a particular portion. So, yep.
Okay. So then another couple questions just around steward and the functionality. When would you use steward versus a fund advisor?
So steward is going to be someone at your foundation.
Right.
versus your funded. Yeah. Go ahead, Holly.
So say I, Holly Spitz, am the steward of 10 funds. This would be the contact at your foundation who the fund advisor could contact if they have questions. So just a way to give some visibility into the contact there. And another question was, we assign stewards on the profile instead of the fund. Will a steward at the profile level show on the portal as well? And no, that is not right now an option. It is just the steward on the fund.
Yes.
And then another question, does the log also reference phone changes for profiles from SLM and GLM? And I believe right now, I will confirm this after, and we'll put a post out on Compass to make sure, but I believe any profile changes in SLM do not actually sync and integrate over. You still have to change it in C-Suite. C-Suite's the owner of record of those profiles, and for security purposes and fraud, we don't want phone numbers, I guess don't matter as much, but they do somewhat if you're going to do some fraud checking prior to wires or ACH transfers, but we really want CommunitySuite to be the record of profile changes, just for security and fraud reasons. So. All right. Moving on.
I'm going to jump into a couple of other enhancements we did. So I'm going to come back to this Hikers Fund. I'm still here in Dan's. So I'm going to look at my distributions. So what I call grants are my distributions. So I can see here, there's a list of distributions. I can come down, I can see any canceled or paid ones now. So that was kind of an enhancement. You can see this canceled amount. Same with a refund, you would be able to see the refund amount. So some of that information you weren't able to see it, or just show complete. And so it wasn't really the true status. Let me jump into this one here. We also have added the ability for you to share documents within your grant, so you can share them. And I'll jump into a grant here. I'm in this grant number 1430. So if I jump over here and look at my grant 1430. So if I have a document on that grant request, maybe it's something they emailed me or sent me, maybe it's a signed document or something, I can choose to share that along the bottom here. So again, so if I attach files on my grants, you can now share them out on the portal. So just wanted to point that out, but it is within the distribution or the grant, whatever you have this tab called. All right, the next thing is kind of these scholarship updates, and I just wanted to kind of talk about those settings. These are going to enable the ability for your fund advisors to request payment on a scholarship, change the grantee, or change the student ID, kind of depending on what level of where the scholarship is in the payment status. So we'll look at the settings to turn this on to enable this for your fund advisors. So here in scholarships, and then under settings, we have this fund manager or fund advisor. Those words are kind of interchangeable for us. Full control. So I have that enabled currently on this particular in my site. And then on my left-hand side, when I go back to my scholarships, I'm going to select scholarships again from the left-hand menu. And then I can select which funds I want them to be able to kind of have that full control, tell me when the payment needs to be requested, or change their grantee or not have that ability. So you can do that. You can set it all for all of your fund managers, or you can clear them all here in bulk. But I can also do that one off. So if I wanted to edit this scholarship, I could say, yes, I want this fund manager to be able to have some of this additional functionality. So I'm not going to enable that for this one. I'm going to jump back over to my fund advisor portal, and we're going to jump in. I'm going to choose my fund here, and we're going to look at this Ranger J scholarship. I'm going to go into this new scholarships tab that's appeared for me. And now I can see I have 3 awards in here. So I'm going to just drill down into this. So if I had more than one scholarship, I would see those listed out there. So I'm going to go into this 1072 to look at it quickly. This is showing that it's paid. So the only thing I can really, as a fund advisor now, since I have that enabled, I could change a student ID if I needed to. I'm going to use my back arrow at the top, and I'm going to look at this 1265. So down here, I have some options. So I could request a payment. So I could go ahead and say, yeah, I want to do this distribution. I could change the grantee. So maybe the student reached out to me and I know they've changed schools and changed their student ID. So again, that's enabling a lot of ability for the fund advisors to be able to do some of that functionality. You may not want that. You may want just the view only. So you wouldn't want to enable this full functionality for that particular fund. So any questions on that before we kind of leave the fund advisor area?
No, there's not currently
Okay.
any questions about that. Going back just a little bit, was asked what utility will the photo provide beyond being visually appealing? That's about it. Just a
Yeah.
recognition for the fund advisor to know who their steward is and what they look like within the system.
And I think you can choose a square or a circle when you're uploading. So if you wanted this to be a circle, I think that's also an option.
Okay, yeah. And then we have a question for the end. I think I can type it, more of an open-ended question. So we'll hold on to that one.
Okay, great. I'm going to go ahead and dive into a couple of other kind of additional enhancements. So we're going to talk about the files. So I'm going to just jump into a fund here. And I'm going to go back into my hikers fund here. So I can attach a file here and add a URL. So if I wanted it to, maybe I wanted to give this particular fund advisor all of the resources for Foundant. So I can go out here to my URL, or maybe I have some resources out on the web and I wanted to attach it very easily for my fund advisors to see it. So I could say, this is my resources. Again, maybe it's an application or something that you're linking to, but I can put that external by selecting this external here. I can do the external URL and then choose my category. I'm just going to choose photos here. And I'm going to label it. All right, and then when I go down here at the bottom, I can see if I click into this, it now is going to take me into my resource. So now I can see that Foundant Technologies resources here, and I can also share it. So if I share it and I say yes, and we jump back out to that fund advisor portal, I'm going to go back to that hiker fund. And then in my shared documents, I could see that resources is there for them. So I could click onto that and then they'll get that same URL. So some different functionality with using your files. You can also come into this file still and edit. You can not share it and you can delete this file. So if it's not something, or maybe you connected the wrong URL or something, you can definitely delete that. So just wanted to display that. Under accounts, I'm going to use my quick menu across the top here, and I'm going to select accounts. On the left-hand menu, you'll now see that we have this bulk edit option. So you can come in, and if I was redoing my chart of accounts, I could come in and easily change my numbers here. If I hit my back arrow here, it's going to take me back out to those bulk edit options. I'm going to back arrow one more time, and I'm just going to select my type here, bank. So if I select that, this is going to give me all of my accounts that are grouped together under this type called bank. And then I could do some bulk edit options as well from here. So maybe I wanted to just relabel my bank account information. So this is where I could do some updates there. The next thing I want to, in the accounts is to talk about, let me go down to one of my expense accounts here. So maybe I have this fees and dues. We now have the ability to close this into a different equity account. So if I wanted to make sure this was always going to, my principal account or something like that, we could go ahead and make sure that this particular account always closed into a particular equity account. So I can edit, choose from my drop down, and choose one of my equity accounts. Okay, the next thing is going to be in opportunities. So I'm going to go back to my home screen. I'm going to select opportunities from my nonprofit column. I'm going to look at this particular open opportunities. I kind of created one this morning. And I'm going to go ahead and you can see I have this beneficiary profile. So if I edit that, let me go back to screen. Let me remove this one here. So here, if I want to add a profile, so maybe I have this request coming in from Corey and Sky, and it's really, they want to leave it to a nonprofit versus a particular fund. I can add the beneficiary here on the left. So then I can select from any of my profiles. So maybe I do know it's an arts one, and I can select it here. So this is a one-to-one, so one profile beneficiary to the one opportunity. So that is a new feature. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to add a task here. Let's just jump into tasks because there was a couple of updates to our task as well. We now have the interval, so you can set an interval from your due date. So if I want to say today is my due date, I can set a reminder and it's going to email me and say, hey, you have this task due 1 day, 3 days, 7 days, or 30 days prior to this date here. So that's kind of a new feature in our task. And I'm going to click on the task here. So if you haven't noticed, if you're not using task, we now have the buckets. So we have our current, all of my tasks, assigned tasks, completed, shared with me, and shared with others. So that has kind of turned in from the left-hand menu options to a bucket concept. All right, and I am going to pause here, Holly, to see if you have any
more questions? There's a lot
Yeah.
coming in. I'm furiously trying to answer. Okay, so there's some questions about files and adding them in bulk. So I think this is the question. Is there an easy way to share a document or multiple files?
Like across several funds?
That's what I'm wondering. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So the way I would do that is if I had, so maybe I have a new spending policy for all my DAFs. I could come in, I could go to my groups here, and I could go to my, oops, clicked on the wrong button on my mouse here. I could go here and then attach a file to this whole entire DAF fund. And again, if I wanted that external, I have that ability, but I could also just choose a file. So maybe it's a new spending policy that I have saved on my desktop. I could save it here and put that out there. And then once I upload it, let me see if I still have this saved in my.
So hopefully this is answering Amanda's question too. Can we add resources to funds in bulk? This is how you would do it.
Yeah, yep. So, and then I could save this. And then again, if I share it, it's going to go across this whole entire fund group here. So I could just say yes, and then all of these staffs would receive that documentation. So that's probably how I would handle that. Okay.
Okay, perfect. All right, so let's just answer a couple quick other questions from some clarifications. So one is, I'm confused about why you'd have a bequest coming to you not designated for a fund at your CF, but for another nonprofit. So I think it's just additional. You don't have to use that functionality if you have, say, a state bequest that maybe it's a pass-through fund. It's directly going to benefit that nonprofit. Maybe it's a designated fund. So a fund that's going to be created that specifically benefits a nonprofit. Those are some of the use cases we've heard. So again, just another option for tracking and data. So that is that one. And this is another, not a question, just a tip. So hopefully everyone's looking at Q&A too. With a free extension in Chrome, you can use the external link functionality to access profile and fund documents saved on your server file share. So
nice.
If you do that, that's the option. Okay, and it says, what is the, another one about tasks. What is the recurring interval in tasks? Can we explain that one?
On the, let me edit this one. This recurring interval. So if this task comes up and like maybe it's to remind me to post my payroll journal entry is what I was a good case use for it. So to remind me, oh, I need to post this by the 20th of the month or whatever. I could set this to, happen once a month or a quarter or a year. So just a great way to kind of help with your workflow as you're like, oh yeah, I only do this once a month or I only do this once a quarter, and you can set that as a reoccurring. So this task would appear in your task as a due thing once a quarter or a year, something like that.
Okay, and then the task email notification, does it need to be configured?
Nope, it's just a really simple, and it says this task is due and it has a link to this task on your email.
Okay, and I must have confused everyone and even myself here because I guess Zoom changed, so Q&A is no longer viewable by participants. So I'm sorry, I'll try to read everything so everybody knows what's happening. Thank you, sorry about that. Okay, you can keep moving.
Okay, awesome. I'm gonna keep going then. All right, so some of the additional things that we have done is in profiles. So I'm going to jump here to systems data here because this is where this profile setting is. It is called, let's see here. Show ID on search. So this is going to give me the ability to show my profile IDs here in this global search. So you can see when I'm searching IDs up here, you can now see my profile IDs are at the end. So you know when those are repeating that that's the same particular profile. So just want to point that out. You can turn that on. So that's an option for you to turn on in your system's data. So if you want to be able to do that, you can do that. Another thing that we did is in the profiles. This is something that you have to enable either at the grant level or the donation level. So I'm just going to go into donations here quickly. I'm going to go into settings. And this is if I am looking at those summaries on my profile, and we'll jump back into that, but I just want to show you the settings here really quickly. So if I want to show my summary for my donations or my grants, I can show it by my fiscal year if I happen to not use a calendar year. So maybe I'm using a July 1st fiscal year, I can have my summary show up as that. So again, that's in donations and under settings. It's also under grants and under settings. So you can see I don't have this enabled for my grants. So I'm going to pull up one of my profiles here. And let's see, let's pull up Sky Weber and see if she's got some information we can look at here. So I'm going to go to my grantee. I feel like my computer is running really slow, so I'm apologizing. So you can see that this is just going to show by year. I have some grants that have happened in 2021. I'm going to use my back arrow at the top. I'm going to jump into my donor information now. And I enabled this at the donation level. So this is where I could see that this is a fiscal year versus a calendar year. So again, the calendar year is just going to display the year, and then the fiscal year is going to be the FY. So if I had a financial offset, I would be able to display these differently for my donations or my grantees. Another great new thing that we did on the profile, I'm going to go back to kind of this main profile area here, is we have this recognition name. So this is a way that if I want to set, Sky always, when she gets donations, when she sends us a donation, she always wants on her thank you letter to be Sky the Sky. So now when I go into donations and I create a new donation for Sky Weber, I'm going to see that it's auto going to populate. So this is going to help with that consistency in your tax receipts. If you know your particular donor wants to be addressed a certain way, you can set that up now at the profile level. So that was one of the things I wanted to point out. And then also on your profile types, so on our fund categories, one of our requests was, as you come in and you migrate and maybe you have a lot of these different fund categories and you don't want them anymore, a way to kind of archive those. So now if I have a couple of profiles that I want to be able to delete this old category, so maybe these were all my fund advisors for 2021, I can delete this fund category now. And it's going to give me an option. Do I want to delete and just unlink all of these profiles that are linked to this particular fund category? Or do I want to delete them and reassign them? And then I can see what other fund categories are available for me to select. So I can delete my old 2021 fund advisors and now set up my fund advisors for 2022. And it's going to update my profiles for me. So those are kind of our profile updates that we've done here recently. Another thing in custom reports that we have done is those notes. We know people are really running reports on their notes. So now for the objects, so you can have a donation report, you can have a fund note report. So based on your object, you can create your own note report here. So that is new in custom reports. Another thing in funds, under fund statements. So once you've generated your fund statements, and then let's say maybe Sky calls in and she realizes she can't find her fund statement and you need to email it to her, you can now have the option to email or print these right here from your generated file. Another thing that we enhanced this last quarter is under our grant catalog. So if you're using these grant cycles, I'm going to go into this give day one. You can see now I have this custom URL and I just selected a random website. So when I'm giving out this unique URL, it is going to go ahead and drop them on this website. So this would give you the ability to kind of design your own web page for your event and then still use the C-suite functionality for the request or the donations. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go back to my list here and Go back to my grants here. If I go out to my grant catalog, you can see if I go into that give day, it's actually going to pull up that Loaves and Fishes for me. So you can see here that it is pulling that other website rather than my custom URL. All right, so I'm going to go back a screen here. So I'm going to take a pause here, Holly. We kind of covered lots of different
I
areas.
think there's some.
Okay.
I think there's some more questions. So one I was just looking at, and I believe it is available. It says, unfortunately, fund stored is not an available option in many custom reports. So maybe you can define which ones you need them in, because it is in the fund report, and I see it in a couple others. So if you can answer that, it's an anonymous attendee, so I'm not sure who it is, but if you can ask that, maybe we can look into it further or add it to Ideal Lab. And we're always constantly adding fields to custom reports. There is a lot of questions around that recognition field.
Okay.
So here, let me go back up to the top. And I think this is the same. I think this is referencing the same. So from Julie, can you add the preferred name on the gift rather than the profile? We've tried it and it did not work. So
the preferred, like you're just adding a recognition here on the donation. And you're putting it in here and it's not staying or something?
If that's the case, I would chat with support.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to clarify that. Okay. So if that is a true statement and it's not adding it here on the donation record, definitely chat with support and get that escalated and fixed. Let's see, does the grant, okay, so going back to that fiscal year and current year settings, do those settings transfer over to the Fund Advisor portal?
No.
Okay, so the Fund Advisor simply sees it on a calendar year basis. Or it follows does it follow the fiscal setting? I actually don't know the answer to that.
I think it shows. Oops.
This is something we could clarify later.
Yeah, yeah, we made it. Let me see. Let me see on we log in as Sky here because I haven't set my password. Okay, let me check at that and see.
We'll get back. We're gonna follow up in Compass with a couple of things here. That's another one that we'll do that one as well. Let's see. Okay, the custom stored. It says, is the recognition field also something that can be used for the donor when they are making a grant? So it must be for a donor, a fund advisor when they want a specific name to be recognized on the grant award letter. So great Ideal Lab submission, I think.
Yeah, because we don't have the recognition name on the grant stuff since it's really related to the donation record.
Yeah.
So, but it may be something we could pull in from the profile to the grant area as well.
Yeah. Okay. And then where do you get the custom URL? I'm assuming this.
On the grant catalog?
It must be.
Okay, so let me look here. So when I came into this, here, the custom URL. Yeah. Oops.
So you just can add it up there in the
right here
catalog right at the top.
This should have been a release that came out. So this should be an option.
Yeah. So adding your own custom URL, you would just add that into.
Let me make sure if it's in the settings. Yeah, it should just be a release now. It should have been released.
And then it does say when they go to that unique URL for the grant catalog, how do they give to the grant catalog? So you would have to have the grant catalog set up.
Yeah, I didn't have a real external website, but they could still give the same way that they normally do. It would then give them the options that you had set up for your this one.
Catalog. So you would, you would navigate them to your external URL and embed those grant catalog links back.
Yep.
Someone asked, do you also need to be subscribed to Portal Access in your license to use most of these? Yes. So anything where you see the Funded Advisor portal or the donation portal, yes, you would have to have the full license for those.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll keep working away down these. Oh, one other one. Can we tag profiles with a new fund category via import?
Let me look at the profile import, because I think you can bring in fund categories. Oh no, it's your org roles and your profile IDs, your profile codes. Yeah. But I think you can set them in bulk when you do a list here. I think then let me go create a list here, and then you should have add to profile type, but I think there's a fund category one as well. I mean, need one of my essays to confirm that, so I can answer that.
We'll get back to you on that one.
Yeah.
All right. If you keep going, and I'll keep going through the questions here.
Okay. And I was able to do that recognition, Holly, just back to that one. It stayed on my particular donation. So when I added it just now, it stayed.
Okay.
I just created it. So I'm not sure.
Okay. We just had another user chat in that they had the same disappearing recognition issue, and they chatted to support without anyone getting back to them. So we'll follow up on that and
Okay.
make sure it's not something that we need to escalate and fix, but we'll make sure to check on that one.
Yeah, because when I'm doing it, it looks like it is working right there. So.
All right.
Okay. Anything else before we jump? The next thing I kind of want to talk about is just kind of some of these October releases. So before it hits the press, we'll dive into a couple of things that are coming. So you may have noticed some different menu options on my screen that are maybe different than you're used to seeing. So I'm going to go ahead. Oh, let me just talk quickly about some additional requests, and then we'll jump into a few things that are coming in October. Release notes. If you've noticed, if you've used this left-hand menu option, it's going to take you to a new screen. So this is what our new release notes are going to be looking like. We will no longer be sending you a task. We've got a lot of feedback that, that task was just kind of muddying up this red block here, and then people were ignoring the real task. So we're going to stop sending the daily task reminder. The release notes is going to move from your left-hand menu, and it's going to come to this package. So we've talked about that package being our release notes. Well, that is going to be, by the end of the year, that will be our option for reviewing your release notes. And I know you guys, there are so many people that click that every single day. So just make sure that you know that there's not going to be a task that's going to be sent out either. Another thing that released last week was this users inactive. So if I have any inactive users, I can select the list all, and it's going to show any inactive users or my list active. So if you logged into your users and your users were way shorter than they used to be, it is because we made that enhancement to just show you the active users. So that was a big request.
I have something else.
Yes.
Before you hop too far. It said, will the release notes highlight in color so we know something was added? And no, that is not going to happen.
Yeah, it will still be by date.
Yes.
So if you look at the package is not going to highlight. So I would just say just make it, part of your kind of daily routine to check that package, because we do, in C-Suite, we release a lot of stuff daily. Maybe it's just a little bug fix or something like that. So but yeah, you're maybe going to have to get in the habit. Yeah, I don't think there's a way to highlight the package. Invoices, in systems data now under templates. If you create a template, you'll now see that there is an invoice template. So you can add some of your different terminology, things like that, your own image on there. So now that is a customizable template. So I know people were super excited about that. Another thing that we did in journal entry, so if I go down to general ledger and I go into my journal entry, and I'm just going to pull up one of these posted ones so we can see it. I created one this morning. You can see I have this $50 one. If I go to my log, it was just saying reviewed, but now it's going to show, or approved, excuse me. And so now it's going to show these rejected. So if you reject it, it is going to jump back to the new bucket if you don't have enough approvers still available to approve it. If not, if I reject it and then maybe Holly's still an approver and she approves it, maybe I need her to look at it, it would still sit in this approval until it wasn't going to make the qualification, and then it will drop into that new bucket. So just a few changes under journal entries. And then also on the 19th, we released quite a few permissions. So a couple of those were under vouchers. I'm just going to show this one really quick. If I go to permissions and show advanced, we now have that statement vouchers are going to be a different permission if you didn't see that. And you can also break that apart from just your regular vouchers. Another thing in vouchers under settings, under kind of that same release, was not being able to self-approve your own vouchers. So that is in grant and in vouchers. So if you want to turn that on to where you can't self-approve your own vouchers, that is now new functionality in vouchers and grants. So I highly recommend, there's lots more permissions. I think there was like 12 things that I listed out that day on release notes to jump back and check that out from August 19th. So if you want to jump into those release notes and look at that. Another thing under accounts is our statement vouchers. If I go in and I try to unpost one of these, I'm just going to grab one of my old statement vouchers. If I try to unpost it, it is going to warn us that, hey, you may have your bank reconciliation. You may need to unpost your revenue share. If you don't and make a change to the statement voucher, your revenue share could be off. So it's not going to stop you or prevent you. It is just going to warn you that, hey, this could cause bigger problems if you don't unpost your revenue share. So the last thing kind of our most recent releases is under our distributions. So if I go into my distribution type, now you can use that accounts and you can select it by quarter or by year. So if I edit this is just going to be restricted to our balance sheet accounts. So if I want to choose now my account to be calculated by average per quarter or average per year, again, it's just going to be on our balance sheet. So if I try to say this rent is going to now be one of my distribution account numbers, it's going to warn you that revenue and expense accounts are not a possibility with this new calculation. Okay, so that really is everything before I dive into kind of some of the new October releases. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, I was typing, but this is probably good for everybody on the call to hear. So asking why the release notes in the left-hand menu cannot remain, and we're just aligning our release notes for all our products to be similar. So we're going to go either into that in the help icon or the present for release notes. And we're still going to do a shout out on those Wednesdays. So the first Wednesday of every month is when the major releases come out. Otherwise, they're fixing issues within the system or maybe minor releases that don't affect your workflow. So those are slowly roll out during the month. And then they also asked if it could be done earlier in the day, like midnight. So Eastern time zone people come in at 8 and it's there. Unfortunately, Foundant is located in a mountain time zone. So our L&D team who does those shout outs, that's why they kind of show up in the middle of the day. So that is the update on that last question we have.
Okay, awesome. So allocation tables is something that we are going to be adding into C-Suite. So again, October release. So I don't know if this will excite you or not, but I was super excited about it. So allocation tables is going to be its own menu option. We're currently starting it with just our vouchers. So this would be a vendor situation. So I could go in, create an allocation table. So maybe I call this my rent expense. I'm going to have the object here vouchers. So currently we're just going to release it for vouchers, but future we may look at journal entries, some other things. So just kind of based on the feedback we get. Fund is an optional. If you want to fill it out, you can, but I could come down here and say, here's my rent management portion, and I could say this is my rent expense, and I could say this is going 80% for management, and then I could come down to maybe my program and then put the at 20%. So again, these are decimals here, how we normally do percentages in C-Suite. It's going to show you your total here, and then I can create, oops. Again, you'll want to do better descriptions than Sky is displaying right now. So once I create this allocation table, the next step I want to do is I want to go to my vendor profile. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my vendor here. So I'm going to go into profiles and I'm going to go to my vendor tab. I'm going to hit edit. I'm going to add the allocation table and hit save. So then when I create a voucher for this particular vendor, I'm going to have that allocation table pop up for me. So I'm going to go ahead and hit create. I'm going to type in my sudden link here. And you can see that it auto populates with my allocation expenses down here for me. So I can say, here's my voucher date. My allocation amount is $1,000. So just so easy math. I can also edit these numbers if I need to. You can see that we have the subtotal. So that will also be releasing that even vouchers that don't have allocation tables will have this new total, which was a big summit request. So and then just adding in my fund. So I'm just going to select my operating fund. And then save. So then I would just follow my regular voucher process here. So any questions on the allocation tables? And again, I'll be sending out the videos with these as we get the October releases. Also, another thing we're going to do is the bulk deletion of notes. So again, if you're bringing in some old data you don't want to keep any longer in C-Suite, you can come in, filter your note report. So maybe I want to add a filter based on my employee here. So I'm just going to say Foundant Technologies. I can apply this filter and I can delete all of these notes here in bulk. So that will be a great new release, I believe, for many people. It also has its own separate permission. So if you look under permissions, you can see that bulk delete. We did default it just to the admin. So if there's other people you're wanting, so make sure you set that up. So that is the bulk delete notes. Another thing in profiles that is coming in October is your profile links now have the ability to have date ranges. So, oops, let me go into like, if I was using this more as a relationship, let me go into a profile here. That'll probably be a better way to see it. So I pull up Sarah here, you can see our profile links and our org roles are now broken apart from each other. I now have this relationship area here and I can put in a date range here. So again, I can export just my profile links if I want, and the org roles, we were having some ghosting problems where stuff was not necessarily showing up on reports and it was showing up on the profile. So I think all of that will be resolved with this release as well. So if I go in and edit, you can see on that profile, I can say what the relationship is here. So anyway, so that will be coming on the profile links. Another thing we did is in vouchers. So I'm going to pull up this voucher here. We've attached the void payment history here. So if you void a check, it's now going to create this little void payment history. So you can see the payments. You can see I've rewritten this check here. So this is the void payment. So if I go to that check ID, you can see the voided check here. I'm gonna use my back arrow. Another thing with the void check, if I go into my bank reconciliation, anything that is voided is going to display in red now. So some great enhancements, I think, there for our bank reconciliations and our void. So you can track that. They'll be great for our audit purposes. The last couple of things I have to show before we sign off here is a couple of new financial reports. We have this new audit balances, what I would consider more of a quarter ending value report. So if you come in here, I'm just going to select this year here. So you can see here's all of my funds here. You can see the date and here's my quarter 1, 2, 3 for my calendar year. If I edit my options here across the top, I'm going to be able to see this quarter ending value by quarter or financial year. So if I was looking at several years, that quarter ending value comes from your bank and investment account balances. So just like on your endowed funds, if you're looking at that right under the distributions, those quarter ending values, that's where that's pulling this information here. I could also pull like a total fund balance, principal or spendable. So I could look at my principal for a quarter and I could decide to sort my funds by group, subgroup, divisions, kind of those standard funds and that subtotals and things for me. So I think this will be a great report again for your auditors to be able to pull those, or if you're wanting to see those QEVs, we can now get those out of the system. And so again, I left them grouped, but this is my bank and investment balances. So QEV translates to that bank and investment account balance. I still have the show funds here on the left-hand menu. Another financial report that we'll be releasing in October is the account activity report. So this is going to pull similar to your income statement here, but I do have the ability if I want to add a filter and I can say by account, and then I just can select the account numbers that I want to choose. So maybe I really just want to look at all of my administration or maybe even one donation. So I can choose whatever accounts I want, apply that filter, and it's just going to pull those. So this isn't like a true financial. It's not going to tie out, you know, like your income statement to, I mean, it is going to tie out like it's going to balance here, but it may not tie out to your particular expenses if you're not doing all of those expense accounts, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But I still have some options here to do those columns, just like I would my income statement, or apply my financial views to those. So those are kind of our new reports and things that are coming in October. So we're super excited. We've been working very hard to kind of get all of those things in before year end. We have lots more of exciting things coming. So
we do. So a few questions. So can you have
Perfect.
multi-fund on the allocation table?
Yes. Yep. So that
Okay.
allocation table is going to, you can select that multi-fund here. So if I did, if I created one in my allocation table, yes, I can set different funds. If that's the question.
Yeah,
Yes. Sorry.
that's also
Yes.
true.
Yes. I could set it here. Let me edit this. So I could put my operating fund here.
Yep.
Yep. And then I could put my hydro fund here.
All right. And then there is a question, and I'm not sure where you were because I'm seriously answering, but it said, yes, I see that, but what email address does that point back to? And where do I change that? So I'm not sure where.
Is that for the task? If it's for the task, then that would go back to whatever your user email is. So I'm not sure if that's.
All right. So that was from Debbie. Debbie, if you can clarify, we can try to answer that better. So if you change your little user, go to your me little icon and you can change that email there.
Yeah.
And then it says, how can we confirm that the profile and fund note section are only visible by Foundation staff? They are only visible by Foundation staff, correct? We use this section for tracking conversation. So no one, fund advisors, or there's no portal access to fund notes or profile notes.
No,
so
the attachments you can share, but yeah. But the notes they look a little bit different. I can pull one up on a fund here. So there's not that share capability here on this one.
Yeah. Only with the files here. All right, Debbie did clarify what she was saying. So for profile edit.
Oh, when they're editing out on the Fund Advisor portal?
So.
Yeah, so that is coming from, oops, let me get back to my home screen here. On your Fund Advisor here, so if I go to Fund Advisors on the left-hand menu, I'm going to edit profile. And again, these are pulling from your users. So this would email SkyWeber based on my user email here. So if I go into users and I look at SkyWeber here, it's going to use this email is where it's going to send it.
That is exactly what you needed.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay,
Thank
perfect. Awesome.
Thanks for reading minds. Thank you for the good questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did that. okay, this one must be related to multi-funds and allocation tables, but can you use that same thing on a recurring voucher?
Not at this time. The recurring vouchers don't have, let me just add one just really quick. Yeah, we don't have that capability just yet.
So instead of a recurring voucher, what you could do is set up the allocation table and copy on the future, or this will be a future iteration to add it here.
Yeah, yeah.
And it says, how do you add two stewards to a fund or group of funds? Oh, two stewards. I think it's just one.
It's a one-for-one in C-Suite. Yep. So it's just going to be able to select one fund steward. So there's just a drop down for one person here.
So yeah, you can add one user profile, one user there in fund stewards, and you can do it, but you cannot add two. Okay. And one last question. This is not related to any of our releases, but someone's asking about canceling and voiding a check for a donation. So they had a check returned to them, and how should they go about recording that?
I would probably, because so they wrote you a check and now it's came back. I would probably do a negative donation, but there's the way you need to then write your voucher from that to recredit them is maybe reach out to support so they can give you all of the steps.
I think that's the best way to do it too. Your other option too would be to unpost the deposit, remove that donation, and just unpost and delete it. But if you want some record of it and how it happened, I would reach out to support, and they can do it there. Okay.
Yeah, if your bank's already like reconciled and you have a fee or something, I would hate to kind of,
Right. I think there's so many variables there that, I would reach out to support on that one. And then side question on vouchers. Is there an option to see if a voucher has an attachment? When you have many items, you miss adding one, so it would be helpful to know.
So if you're talking about when you're looking at your vouchers to see if, like from here, if it has an attachment here, so you would know. I don't think it comes up even in custom reports.
No, but that's actually an interesting option. I would, Mary, please put that in Idea Lab. I love that idea.
Yeah.
So people could see it and just easily click on it. I think that would be really
I think
great.
if you were the approver, it'd be nice to see all your attachments right there easily. So, yes.
Okay. And just so you know, as we always tell everyone, add it to Idea Lab, add it to Idea Lab. We do look at that. We look at it all the time. Guys answering things in there every day, just about. But we really get most of our ideas from all of your user stories. So please continue to use that. And one other question here. We have another couple minutes. Are we able to add custom fields to a fund profile in C-Suite? You mean a fund record, I'm assuming?
Yeah, you can add custom fields. Yeah, I think if it's a fund record, you can add a custom field.
Yeah, it says we're doing an annual fund health check and would like to be able to have a field to record this and be able to run a report. So so go to your funds if you want to show them how to quickly do that.
Yep. And then add custom fields here on the left-hand side. And then you could create whatever you want to call it, health check or whatever, however you want to label that, and then attach it to your funds. And you can even do that in bulk.
Okay. And another user said, has there been any discussion on showing cleared grant checks on the status on the donor portal so they know that their grant checks have been cleared? Not currently on our roadmap, but again, that's another great Idea Lab suggestion. We're always looking at ways to update the portal. So that would be a great update there.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, for sure. And then another user Sally just asked, will fund advisors eventually be able to submit expenses via the fund advisor portal?
So would that be like a voucher request?
Yeah. Possibly. Again, really another Idea Lab request. Right now it's just grants, but our developers always tell me anything's possible. So we just have to chat with them and find out and see how much,
Yeah.
effort it takes compared to other things that are needed. But
Mhm.
another great Idea Lab request. When we
Okay.
suggested to reach out to support, they said
Okay.
that, yeah.
Judy, I'll connect you. I'll either connect with you after this, or I'll get someone in touch with you that can walk you through that step. Yep.
Yeah. So they should be able to ask you for
Yeah.
that.
Yep. Well, we are at time. So I
All
just want
right.
to
Yep.
thank everybody for coming. So as always, I hope that what we're doing is helping you guys in your daily life, and always put stuff out on Idea Lab. Like Holly said, we're checking it every single day. So we're hoping to keep up with those ideas and keep things moving towards the right direction for you guys. So
Yep.
have a
Yep.
great day.
Have a great day. Bye.